Get fucked.
Post number 1, September 7, 2010. Okay, /x/ I need your help with this. This is not pokepasta, this is a long read, but I feel like my safety or well-being could very well depend on this. This is video game related, specifically Majora's Mask, and this is the creepiest shit that has ever happened to me in my entire life. Having said that, I recently moved into my dorm room, starting as a sophomore in college, and a friend of mine gave me his old Nintendo 64 to play. I was stoked, to say the least. I could finally play all of those old games of my youth that I hadn't touched in at least a decade. His Nintendo 64 came with one yellow controller and a rather shoddy copy of Super Smash Bros., and while beggars can't be choosers, needless to say it didn't take long until I became bored of beating up LVL9 puss. That weekend I decided to drive around a few neighborhoods about 20 minutes or so off campus, hitting up the local garage sales, hoping to score on some good deals from ignorant parents. I ended up picking up a copy of Pokemon Stadium, GoldenEye, Fuck yeah, F-Zero, and 2 other controllers for $2. Satisfied, I began to drive out of the neighborhood when one last house caught my attention. I still have no idea why it did. There were no cars there, and only one table was set up with random junk on it, but something sort of drew me there. I usually trust my gut on these things, so I got out of the car and I was greeted by an old man. His outward appearance was, for lack of a better word, displeasing. It was odd. If you asked me to tell you why I thought he was displeasing, I couldn't really pinpoint anything. There was just something about him that put me on edge. I can't explain it. All I can tell you is that if it wasn't in the middle of the afternoon and there were other people within shouting distance, I would not have even thought of approaching this man. He flashed a crooked, smiled at me and asked what I was looking for, and immediately I noticed that he must be blind in one of his eyes. His right eye had that glazed over look about it. I forced myself to look to his left eye instead, trying not to offend, and asked him if he had any old video games. I was already wondering how I could politely excuse myself from the situation when he would tell me he had no idea what a video game was, but to my surprise he said he had a few ones in an old box. He assured me he'd be back in a jiffy and turned to head back into the garage. As I watched him hobble away, I couldn't help but notice what he was selling on his table. Littered across his table were rather peculiar paintings, various artworks that looked like ink blots that a psychiatrist might show you. Curious, I looked through them. It was obvious, why no one was visiting this guy's garage sale. These weren't exactly aesthetically pleasing. As I came to the last one, for some reason it looked almost like Majora's Mask, the same heart-shaped body with little spikes protruding outward. Initially I just thought that since I was secretly hoping to find that game at these garage sales, some Freudian bullshit was projecting itself into the ink blots, but given the events that happened afterward I'm not so sure now. I should have asked the man about it. I wish I would have asked the man about it. After staring at the Majora-shaped blot, I looked up and the old man was suddenly there again, arm's length in front of me, smiling at me. I'll admit I jumped out of reflex and I laughed nervously as he handed me a Nintendo 64 cartridge. It was the standard gray color, except that someone had written Majora on it in black permanent marker. I got butterflies in my stomach as I realized what a coincidence this was and asked him how much he wanted for it. The old man smiled at me and told me that I could have it for free, that it used to belong to a kid who was about my age that didn't live here anymore. There was something weird about how the man phrased that, but I didn't really pay any attention to then. I was too caught up in not only finding this game but getting it for free. I reminded myself to be a bit skeptical, since this looked like a pretty shady cartridge and there's no guarantee it would work, but then the optimist inside me interjected that maybe it was some kind of beta version or pirated version of the game, and that was all I needed to be back on Cloud 9. I thanked the man and the man smiled at me and wished me well, saying, "Goodbye then." At least that's what it sounded like to me. All the way in the car ride home, I had a nagging doubt that the man had said something else. My fears were confirmed when I booted up the game. To my surprise it worked just fine, and there was one save file named simply VEN. "Goodbye N," he was saying, "goodbye N." I felt bad for the man, obviously a grandparent and obviously going senile, and I for some reason or another reminded him of his grandson, Ben. Out of curiosity I looked at the save file. Eyeballing it, I could tell that he was pretty far in the game. He had almost all of the masks and 3/4 remains of the bosses. I noticed that he had used an owl statue to save his game. He was on day 3 and by the stone tower temple with hardly an hour left before the moon would crash. I remember thinking that it was a shame that he had come so close to beating the game, but he never finished it. I made a new file named Link out of tradition and started the game, ready to relive my childhood. For such a shady-looking game cartridge, I was impressed at how smoothly it ran, literally just like a retail copy of the game save, for a few minor hiccups here and there, like textures being where they shouldn't be, random flashes of cutscenes at odd intervals, but nothing too bad. However, the only thing that was a little unnerving was that at times the NPCs would call me Link, and at other times they would call me VEN. I figured it was just a bug or fluke in the programming causing our files to get mixed up or something. It did kind of creep me out though after a while, and it was around after I had beaten the Woodfall Temple that I regrettably went into the save files and deleted it. VEN, I had intended to preserve the file just out of respect of the game's original owner. It's not like I needed 2 files anyway, hoping that that would solve the problem. It did and it didn't. Now NPCs wouldn't call me anything where my name should be in the dialogue. There was just a blank space. My save file name was still called Link, though. Frustrated and with homework to do, I put the game down for a day. I started playing the game again last night, getting the lens of truth and working my way towards completing the Snowhead Temple. Now, some of you more hardcore Majora's Mask players know about the 4th day glitch. For those who don't, you can Google it, but the gist of it is that right as the clock is about to hit 000000 on the final day, you talk to the astronomer and look through the telescope. If you time it right, the countdown disappears and you essentially have another day to finish whatever you were doing. Deciding to do the glitch to try and finish the Snowhead Temple, I happened to get it right on the first try and the time counter at the bottom disappeared. However, when I pressed B to exit the telescope, instead of being greeted by the astronomer, I found myself in the Majora boss fight room at the end of the game, the trippy, boxed-in arena, staring at Skull Kid hovering above me. There was no sound, just him floating in the air above me, and the background music, which was regular for the area, but still creepy. Immediately my palms began to sweat. This was definitely not normal. Skull Kid NEVER appeared here. I tried moving around the area, and no matter where I went, Skull Kid would always be facing me, looking at me, not saying anything. Nothing would happen though, and this kept up for around 60 seconds. I thought the game had bugged or something, but I was beginning to doubt that very much. I was about to reach for the reset button when text appeared on my screen. You're not sure why, but you apparently had a reservation. I instantly recognized that text. You get that message when you get the room key from Anju at the stock pot inn, but why was it playing here? I refused to entertain the notion that it was almost as if the game was trying to communicate with me. I started navigate the room again, testing to see if that was some sort of trigger that enabled me to interact with something here. Then I realized how stupid I was to even think that someone could reprogram the game like this was absurd. Sure enough, 15 seconds later another message appeared on the screen, and again like the first one it was already a pre-existing phrase. Go to the lair of the temple's boss? Yes/no. I paused for a second, contemplating what I should press and how the game would react, when I realized that I couldn't select no. Taking a deep breath, I pressed yes and the screen faded to white, with the words, Dawn of a New Day, with a subtext vertical line, 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 beneath it. Where I was ported to filled me with the most intense sense of dread and impending fear I had ever experienced. The only way I can describe the way I felt here is having this feeling of inexplicable depression on a profound scale. I am normally not a depressed person, but the way I felt here was a feeling that I didn't even know existed. It was such a twisted, powerful presence that seemed to wash over me. I appeared in some kind of weird Twilight Zone version of Clock Town. I walked out of the clock tower, as you normally do when you start from day 1, only to find that all of the inhabitants were gone. Usually with a 4th day glitch you can still find the guards and the dog that runs around outside the tower. This time they were all gone. What replaced them was the ominous feeling that there was something out there in the same area as me and that it was watching me. I had 4 hearts to my name and the heroes though, but at this point I wasn't even considered for my avatar. I felt that I personally was in some kind of danger. Perhaps the most chilling thing was the music. It was the Song of Healing, ripped straight from the game itself, but played in reverse. The music would get louder, building up so as if you should expect something to pop out at you, but nothing ever did, and the constant loop began to wear on my mental state. Every now and then I would hear the faint laugh of the happy masked salesman in the background, just quiet enough so that I wasn't sure if I just hearing things, but just loud enough to keep me determined to find him. I looked in all 4 zones of Clock Town, only to find nothing. No one. Textures were missing. West Clock Town had me walking on air. The entire area felt broken. Hopelessly broken. As the reverse Song of Healing repeated for what must have been the 50th time, I just remember standing in the middle of South Clock Town realizing that I had never felt so alone in a video game before. As I walked through the ghost town, I don't know whether it was the combination of the out-of-place textures and the atmosphere and the haunting melody of the once peaceful and soothing song being butchered and distorted, but I was literally on the verge of tears and I had no idea why. I hardly ever cry. Something had gripped me here, and this powerful sense of depression that was both foreign and crippling. I tried leaving Clock Town, but every time I attempted to zone out, the screen would fade to black and I would just zone in to another part of Clock Town. I tried playing my ocarina. I wanted to escape, and I did not want to be here, but every time I played the Song of Time or Song of Soaring it would only say, your notes echo far, but nothing happens. By this point, it was obvious the game didn't want me to leave, but I had no idea why it was keeping me here. I didn't want to go inside the buildings. I felt that I would be too vulnerable there to whatever I was terrified of. I don't know why, but I came up with the idea that maybe if I drowned myself at the laundry pool I could spawn somewhere else and leave this place. As I zoned in and ran towards the pool, that's when it happened. Link grabbed his head, and the screen flashed for a brief moment of a happy masked salesman smiling at me, not Link, me, with Skull Kid's scream playing in the background, and when the screen returned I was staring at the Link statue from playing the song Elegy of Emptiness. I screamed as the thing just stared back at me with that haunting facial expression. I turned around and ran out and back into South Clock Town, and to my horror the fucking statue followed me in the only way I can compare this is like the Weeping Angels from Doctor Who. Every so often, at random intervals, the animation would play of the statue appearing behind me. It was like the thing was chasing me, or I don't even want to fucking say it, haunting me. By this point, I was on the verge of hysterics, but not even once did the thought of turning off the console occur to me. I don't know why. I was so wrapped up in it the terror felt all so real. I tried to shake the statue, but it would literally appear right behind me every single time. Link started to begin to make weird animations I had never even seen him do before. He would flail his arms around or spasm randomly, and the screen would cut to the happy masked salesman smiling again, for a brief moment before I was face to face with that fucking statue again. I ended up running into the Swordmaster's dojo and ran to the back. I don't know why, but in my panic I just wanted some kind of assurance that I'm not alone here. To my dismay I found no one, but as I turned to leave the statue, cornered me in the cubby in the back. I tried attacking the statue with my sword but to no avail. Confused and backed into a corner, I just stared at the statue, waiting for it to kill me. Suddenly, the screen flashed again to the happy masked salesman and Link turned to face my screen, standing upright mirroring the statue, looking at me along with his copy. Literally staring at me. Whatever was left of the fourth wall was completely shattered while I ran out of the dojo terrified. Suddenly the game warped me to an underground tunnel and the reverse Song of Healing queued up again as I was given a brief moment of rest before the statue started appearing behind me again. This time aggressively I could only take a few steps before it would summon behind me again. I hurriedly made my way out of the tunnel and appeared in southern Clock Town. As I ran aimlessly, in a sheer panic suddenly a dead screamed and the screen faded to black as dawn of a new day, and vertical line, 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 vertical line appeared again. The screen faded in and I was standing on top of Clock Tower with Skull Kid hovering over me again, silent. I looked up and the moon was back, looming just meters above my head, but the Skull Kid just stared at me longingly with that fucking mask. A new song was playing, the Stone Tower Temple theme, played in reverse. In some sort of desperate attempt, I equipped my bow and fired off a shot at the Skull Kid, and it actually hit him, and he played an animation of him reeling back. I fired again, and on the third arrow, a text box appeared saying, "That won't do you any good. He. And I was picked up off the ground, levitated upwards, on my back, and then Link screamed as he burst into flames, instantly killing him. I jumped. When this happened, I had never seen this move used by Anyone in the game, and Skull Kid himself didn't have any moves. As the death screen played, my lifeless body still burning, the Skull Kid left and the screen faded to black, only to have me reappear in the same place. I decided to charge him, but the same thing happened. Link's body was lifted off the ground by some unknown force, and he immediately burst into flames again, killing him. This time during the death screen, the faint sounds of the reverse song of healing could be heard. On my third and final try, I noticed that there was no music playing this time, that all there was eerie silence. I remembered that in the original encounter with the Skull Kid, you were supposed to use the ocarina to either travel back in time or summon the giants. I attempted to play the Song of Time, but before I could hit the last note, Link's body once again horrifically exploded into flames and he died. As the death screen neared its end, it began to chug, as if the cartridge was trying to process a lot of something. When the screen came to, it was the same scene as the first 3 times, except this time Link was lying on the ground dead in a position I had never seen in the game before, his head tilted towards the camera with a Skull Kid floating above him. I couldn't move, I couldn't press any buttons, all I could do is just stare at Link's dead body. After around 30 seconds of this, the game simply fades out with a message: "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" Before kicking you out to the title screen. Upon getting back to the title screen and starting again, I noticed my save file was no longer there. Instead of Link, it was replaced with YOURTURN. YOURTURN had 3 hearts, 0 masks, and no items. I selected YOURTURN, and immediately, when I did, I was returned to the clock tower rooftop scene of my Link dead and the Skull Kid hovering over, with the Skull Kid's laughing looping again and again. I quickly hit the reset button, and when the game booted up again, there was one more save file added below, YOURTURN, entitled VEN. VEN's save file is right back where it was before I deleted it, at the Stone Tower Temple, with the moon almost crashing. I turned the game off at that point. I'm not superstitious, but this is way too fucked up even for me. I haven't played it at all today. Hell, I didn't even get any sleep last night. I kept hearing the reverse song of healing music in my head and just remembering the sense of dread I felt exploring Clock Town. I drove back to the old man's house today to ask him some questions with a buddy of mine. No way I was going there alone, only to find that there's a for sale sign in the front yard, and when I rang the door, no one was home. So now I'm back here, writing down the rest of my thoughts and recording what happened. Sorry if some of this has grammatical errors and whatnot. I'm running on no sleep here. I'm terrified of this game, even more so now that I relived it a second time, writing this all down, but I feel like there's still more to it than meets the eye, and that there's something calling to me to investigate this further. I think VEN is something in this equation, but I don't know what, and if I could get a hold of the old man, then I would be able to find some answers. I need another day or so to recuperate before tackling this game again. It's already taken a toll on my sanity, I feel like, but next time I do this, I'm going to be recording my footage all the way through. The idea to record only came to me towards the end, so you see the last few minutes of what I saw, including Skull Kid and the Glitchy statue, but it's on YouTube here. I'm going to stay in this thread for a little while longer before I fall asleep to answer any questions you guys might have, or hopefully listen to your ideas or theories to help me shed some light into this, or maybe things I should try to do. I think I'm going to play VEN's file tomorrow to see what happens. Maybe I was supposed to do that all along. I don't believe in paranormal shit, but this is a little fucked up. But maybe this VEN guy is just a really good hacker/programmer. I don't want to think about the alternatives if he isn't. That's the end of the copy/paste. I'm hoping that maybe this is some kind of running gag the developers had and that other people have gotten gag or hacked copies of the game like this. This just really scares me. Post number 2, September 8, 2010. I'm going to post what happened and link the video footage, but last night everything got too real for me. I think I'm done messing around with this. I passed out pretty much immediately after making that thread. But last night, that Legion of Emptiness statue, I had a dream about it. I dreamed that it was following me in my dream, that I would be minding my own business, when I'd feel my neck hairs stand up on end. I would turn around that thing. That horrible, lifeless statue would be staring with those empty eyes right at me, merely inches away. In my dream I remember calling it Ben, and never before had I had a dream that I could remember so vividly. But the important thing is I did get some sleep, I suppose. Today, putting off playing the game as long as I could, I drove back up to that neighborhood to see if the old man came back. As I expected, the car was still gone and no one was home. As I was walking back to my car, the man next door mowing the grass killed the power to his lawnmower and asked me if I was looking for someone. I told him that I was looking to talk to the old man that lived here, to which he told me what I already knew: he was moving. Trying a different avenue, I asked if the old man had any family or relatives I could talk to. I discovered that this old man had never been married, nor did he have any children or grandchildren through adoption. Starting to become worried, I asked one final question, one that I should have asked from the beginning: who was Ben? The man's expression turned grim and I learned that 4 doors down around 8 years ago, on April 23, the man informed me that it was the same day as his anniversary. That's how he knew the specific date. There was an accident with a young boy named Ben in the neighborhood. Shortly after, his parents moved, and despite any further attempts to talk to the man to get more information, he wouldn't divulge anything else. I went back and started playing again. I loaded up the game and immediately I jumped at the title screen where the mask flies by. The sound that played was not the normal whoosh sound, it was something much more higher pitched. I pressed start, bracing for the worst, but just like 2 nights ago, the files, your turn, and VEN were displayed. Truth be told, I looked at the VEN file earlier. It seems to fluctuate between displaying the "I'll save" and not. I brought up the VEN file, hesitated for a moment, noticing that the stats were not the same as the original were 2 days ago. It seemed like he had already completed the Stone Tower Temple this time. Summoning my courage, I selected it. Immediately I was thrust into complete chaos. Sure enough, I was outside Stone Tower Temple, but that's about all that was expected. The zone itself wasn't called Stone Tower Temple, but rather Street ONE, and immediately a dialogue box of complete gibberish that I couldn't make out greeted me. Link's body was distorted, his back was cocked violently to the side, where his posture was permanently disfigured. Link's expression was dull, almost monotonous. He had an expression on his face that I didn't recognize before. It was a blank look, as if he was dead. As Link stood there, his body spasmed irregularly back and forth. I examined what had become of my avatar and noticed I had a C button item I had never seen before, some kind of note, but pressing it did nothing. Sounds played back and forth that I didn't recognize from the game, almost demonic in nature, and there was some kind of high-pitched yip or some kind of laugh or something playing in the background. I had all of 2 minutes to take in the environment before another one of those fucking Legion of Emptiness statues was summoned, and immediately after I was cut into the Dawn of a New Day screen, except this time it was without the vertical line, vertical line, vertical line, vertical line, vertical line, vertical line subtext. I was a Deku scrub in Clocktown. This scene would normally play after the first time you traveled back in time. Tattle would say, "WH, what just happened?" It's as if everything has. But instead of saying, "started over," she finished her remark in broken text as the laugh of the happy masked salesman played in the background. I was put back in control of my character, but from a fucked up camera angle. I was looking from behind the door to the clock tower, watching my avatar run around as a Deku scrub. Seeing as how I really had no place to go because I couldn't see anything, I begrudgingly went inside the door. There, I was greeted by the happy masked salesman, who simply told me, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" Before the screen whited out, I was in Termina Field as a human again. I might as well not have been playing the same game anymore. I was being warped around and there was no sign of a day clock or anything. I took a moment to get my bearings as I looked around the field and immediately I could tell that this was not normal. There were no enemies and a twisted version of the Happy Mask Salesman's theme was playing. I decided to run towards Woodfall before I noticed a gathering of 3 figures off to the side, one of them being Epona. As I approached them, to my horror I saw the Happy Mask Salesman, the Skull Kid, and the Elegy of Emptiness statue just standing there. I figured maybe they were bugged out, but by now I told myself that I should know better. Nevertheless, I approached them carefully and found that the Skull Kid was playing some kind of idle animation on loop. Same with Epona, and the Elegy of Emptiness statue was doing what it has been doing all along, just standing there eerily. It was the Happy Mask Salesman that scared me more profoundly than the other two. He too was idle, wearing that shit-eating grin, but wherever I moved, his head slowly turned and followed me. I had not engaged in any dialogue with him nor was I in combat with him, yet his head still continued to follow my movements. Reminded of my first encounter with a Skull Kid on top of Clock Tower, I pulled out my ocarina, to which the game played the ding sound when you were supposed to play your ocarina, and tried a song I hadn't played yet, the Happy Mask Salesman's own song, and the song that had been playing on loop back in day 4, the Song of Healing. I finished playing the song and as I did, a ear-piercing shriek blasted on my TV. The sky immediately started flashing. The Happy Mask Salesman's twisted theme song sped up, intensifying the fear inside me, and Link exploded into flames and died. The 3 figures stayed lit up during my death screen as they watched my lifeless body burn. I can't describe to you how sudden and terrifying the transition from eerie to terror it is. You're going to have to watch the video if you want to see firsthand. That same fear that caused me to lose sleep 2 days ago started to grip me again as I was met with a text. You've met with a horrible fate, haven't you? For the 3rd time. There has to be some kind of meaning behind that. I had little time to ponder as I was immediately given another small cutscene of transforming into Azora, and now I found myself in Great Temple Bay. Hesitant but curious to see what the game had in store for me, I slowly made my way towards the beach, where I found Epona. I wondered why the game had decided to put her here. Was the game implying she was trying to get a drink? Unable to take the mask off, I decided that riding the steed wasn't the reason she was placed there. Suddenly I realized that Epona kept neighing and the way she was angled made it look like she was trying to signal a point to me off in the distance. It was a hunch, but I dove into Great Bay and started swimming. Sure enough, I almost missed it. I found something at the bottom of the ocean, one last Elegy of Emptiness statue. I went down to examine it and suddenly my Zora started doing a choking animation I had never seen a Zora do before, which didn't even make sense, because Zoras can breathe underwater. Regardless, my character choked to death and died, and again the statue was the only thing that was highlighted in my death. I didn't respawn this time. I was booted back to the main menu as if I restarted the console. The press start screen was before me. I knew the only reason why it would put me here is because the save files had changed again. Taking a deep breath, I pressed start, and I was right. The new save files told me about Ben. Now it made sense why the statue appeared when I tried to go to the laundry pool. The game must have anticipated how I would have tried to escape the day 4 clock town. The 2 save files told me his fate. As I suspected, Ben was dead. He had drowned. The game obviously isn't through with me. It wants me with a new save files. It wants me to keep playing. It wants me to go further, but I'm done with this shit. I'm not touching any more of the files. This is already way too horrifying for me, and I don't even believe in the paranormal, but I'm running out of explanations. Why would someone send me this message? I don't understand it. I just get too depressed thinking about this. The footage is up here for those who want to see it and try and analyze it. Maybe there's some kind of coded message in the gibberish or something symbolic in what I went through. I'm too emotionally and mentally drained to fuck with it anymore. Post number 3, September 10, 2010. I know it's early in the morning. I've stayed up all night. I can't sleep. I don't care if people see this. That's not the point. I just want the word to get spread so I don't suffer for nothing. I've lost the will to type about this. The less I dwell on this, the better. I think the video just speaks for itself. I did what you guys told me to do. I played the Elegy of Emptiness song at the first prompt by the game I was given, but I think that's what the game or in. Jesus Christ, I can't believe I'm even humoring the absurd idea that he exists in the game wanted me to do. He's following me now, not just in the game, he's in my dreams. I see him all the time, behind my back, just watching me. I haven't gone to any of my classes. I've stayed in my dorm room with the windows closed and the blinds shut. That way I know he can't watch me. But he still gets me when I play. When I play he can still see me. The game is scaring me now. It talked to me for the first time, not just using text that's already in the game. It spoke to me. Talk to me. It referenced pen. It talked to me. I don't know what it means. I don't know what it wants. I never wanted this, I just want my old life back. Stuff like this doesn't happen to people like me. I'm just a kid, not even old enough to drink yet. It's not fair. I want to go home. I want to see my parents again. I'm so far away from home here at this school. I just want to hug my mom again. I just want to forget that statue's horrible blank face. My original game file is back just the way I left it before it was gone. I don't want to play anymore. I feel like something bad will happen if I don't, but that's impossible. It's a video game, haunted or not, it can hurt me, right? Like seriously though, it can't, right? That's what I keep telling myself, but every time I think about it I'm not so sure. Post number 4, September 12, 2010. Let me just clear things up. I know you guys are worried, but Jajizzle is okay. He finished moving out today and he said he's going back home. He's just taking this semester off. I'm not really sure what's happened. I have a vague idea, but you guys probably know more than I do. I'm Jajizzle's roommate and obviously I knew something was wrong with him for a few days now. He stayed in his room all the time, fell out of contact with literally all of his friends, and I'm pretty sure he hadn't been eating hardly anything. After the second day I couldn't stay in there anymore, so I've been crashing at a buddy's place, only coming into my room to get stuff that I need. I tried talking to him several times, but he would cut me off or keep the conversation brief. When I asked him about his strange behavior, it like he was convinced something was haunting him. Yesterday I came to grab my philosophy book and he approached me, looking awful, like horrible bags under his eyes. He handed me a flash drive and gave me specific instructions. He told me that he needs me to do one last favor for him. He finally explained to me what has been going on, gave me the account info to his YouTube account, and told me that he's getting away from here, that it lured him to play it again instead of trying to change things, and that he shouldn't have done that, and to upload the footage and inform people what happened. I told him that he could do it himself and he got this wild look in his eye and told me that he is never looking at that game again, and that's the last thing he said to me. He never even said bye when his parents came to pick him up. I never even got to meet his parents. I honestly can't tell you what happened when he spoke. It was kind of hard to understand him and his fucked up appearance really distracted me. On the flash drive there was the footage of the game last night, a text document with his name and password for YouTube, and a third document called FetrasTXT containing what he told me were his notes that he'd taken. He told me that this meant everything to him, that I follow his instructions exactly. Normally I wouldn't be so to the letter for request over a fucking video game, but the way he spoke and the way he looked made me know this was really serious, and I'm going to honor that. I've had this video since yesterday, but had to have someone help me use Pinnacle. That's not really my forte. That after watching it I had to go back through and look at his other videos on his YouTube account to realize what was going on, and even then I'm really confused. The video I'm releasing tonight, FetrasTXT, will be released on September 15 just like he requested. I haven't dared peek at it yet, so the first time I see it will be the first time you see it out of respect to my friend. To answer your questions, no, I haven't tried calling him yet. I think I'll give him a call tomorrow to see if that's okay or not. He should have gotten back home by now. About the video, in this video I cut straight to when he loaded the VEN file in the game. Looking back I realized that Jajizzle left the save select screen in because it said different names sometimes, so my bad for that. But all it said this time was the same at the end of his last video, link and VEN, nothing different. I wasn't there when he played it, but it looks to me like, in the beginning, when he first spawns he's testing out his equipment or seeing what items he has or something, because apparently they've changed randomly before. Then, after that I just think the game got too personal for him. Post number 5, September 15, 2010. Hey, guys. Judgeable here. This will be the last time you will be hearing from me, and this is my final gift to you. These are the notes that I have taken and the realizations I've made. Before I delve into this, I want to thank you for following me and thank you for listening. It feels like the weight of a powerful burden is about to be lifted. By the time you read this I won't be around anymore, but after spending 4 days with this maddening game, I have begun to understand what's really at play here, and hopefully after reading this we can ensure that this never happens again. There are things that I could not share with you while this was going on due to the circumstances to which I'll explain. With then blocking any attempt I made to try and relay the truth to you, I tried, ever so subtly, to warn you guys in various ways. Amidst the chaos and my delirium, I devised to make a barely noticeable pattern in my videos. In all 5 videos I recorded over the 4 days, I have either had the Mask of Truth interacted with the Gossip Stone, or the Lens of Truth equipped at some point. For you Zelda enthusiasts, these are all symbols of honesty and trustworthiness, and I would hope that one of you may have picked up on the reference. As I played the file, which I would name VEN, being mindful of how N was watching over my every move in the game, I made a point to avoid doing anything too obvious, but I sent out a hidden message to you guys. I never equipped the lens nor the mask nor visited a stone. It worked, and the video was uploaded. I prayed that someone would notice the pattern, didn't apply to VEN. The tags followed suit too. I hope you guys paid attention to those as well. They were my little messages to you, nothing big enough that would catch N's attention or make him suspect anything with N manipulating and changing my files. I honestly hope that what you guys saw was close to what actually happened, but there is no way for me to know. This may be a long read, I don't have time to proofread or make all of my research pretty. But here it all is. September 6, 2010. 11 o'clock p.m. Can't believe what happened. Not sure if this is some kind of elaborate hoax. Despite the fear, I can't help but be exceptionally curious about this. Who or what is the statue? Lot of questions here. I'm starting this document as a diary so I can keep track of everything. I'm typing up a summary of what happened so I can come back to it later. September 7, 2010. 2:10 a.m. Summary was posted here. You can go back and look at my first post for day 4 WMV for that. 4:23 a.m. I can't sleep. I've been trying so hard, but the harder I try I just get more restless. I just feel like that statue is appearing whenever I close my eyes. 8:20 a.m. Didn't sleep at all, just going to start my day. I don't think I have the energy to go to class today. I'm going to drive back down to talk to that old man, taking my buddy Tyler with me just in case. 1:18 p.m. back home now. No sign of the old man. Really weird that he appears to be moving the next day, but maybe the for sale sign was up there yesterday and I just didn't notice it. Tyler wants to know what's gotten me all worked up. I didn't tell him. Going to eat. Feel like death. 3:46 p.m. Could have sworn driving back from Subway that I saw the Luigi statue buried in some shrubbery staring at me go by. Now I definitely need sleep. 5 o'clock p.m. Don't think a lot of people would believe me if I told them about what's happening. Think I'm going to try posting this on the internet. Think I'll just use the summary. These notes are pretty sporadic. 6 o'clock p.m. Connected my capture card to my computer to upload the footage. Thought my computer froze for a second, made this strange popping sound when I hooked everything up, but now it seems to be working fine again. My computer can't die on me now. 7 o'clock p.m. Footage is finished uploading. The quality's a lot better than I thought it would be. Gee, guess this is a really special cartridge. I've never had it come through this clear before. 8:45 p.m. Thought I saw an icon pop up on my desktop that looked like the statue's face for a split second. Gave me quite a scare. Getting really unnerved and delirious. I'm going to crash after this. 9 o'clock p.m. Begin uploading my Yautja video on an alternate account. 9:03 p.m. I don't remember having uploaded a Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines video last year. This was probably the account that I shared with a friend of mine last summer. I hope he doesn't mind me using it to upload this. 9:55 p.m. posting my summary of day 4 with a link to the YouTube video. Going to try to stay awake, but I am so tired right now. September 8, 2010. 10:48 a.m. I had a dream about the statue. I dreamed that it was following me in my dream, that I would be minding my own business when I'd feel my neck hairs stand up on end. I would turn around, that thing, that horrible, lifeless statue, would be staring with those empty eyes right at me, merely inches away. In my dream I remember calling it pen, power of suggestion most likely, and never before had I had a dream that I could remember so vividly. 11:21 a.m. I really don't want to play this game again. I think I'm going to go back to see if that old man's there instead. 1:35 p.m. No old man, but I had an interesting conversation with his neighbor. I'll post the full thing with my summary of tonight's attempt at playing the game. Going to wait for a bit though and see if I can't dig up any information on this pen guy. 2:45 p.m. I've been getting random, inexplicable headaches due to the lack of sleep and keep hearing that song in my head. Also, it's flu season, so I need to be careful not to get sick. My immune system is going to be shit right now because of that all-nighter. 3 o'clock p.m. 3:02 p.m. My computer just on its own opened up a text document and wrote the words "hi" and www.clever.com by itself. What the fuck? 3:46 p.m. I went to the website. It's one of those bot chatting programs. I think it's best if I just let the conversation speak for itself. 9/8/10 conversation. User, hello? Cleverbit, hello. User, who is this and how are you able to control my computer? Cleverbit, who am I? User, right, forgot. You're a bot. Cleverbit, do you really think that? User, listen, I know whoever's fucking with my computer can see my screen right now. Cleverbit, yes. User, yeah, and I'll wager that you're one of those IT kids who thinks he's tough shit. You know, what you're doing right now is illegal, right? Cleverbit, is it? User, no shit. Are you familiar with the terms invasion of privacy? Get the fuck off my computer, kid. Cleverbit, I am your computer. User, cool story. Anyway, I'm calling DPS. You picked a bad time to fuck with me, kid. Cleverbit, should I wait until you play the game then? User, what? Cleverbit, that game. User, Majora's Mask? Cleverbit, yes. User, how did you know about that? Cleverbit, because. User, because what? Cleverbit, I did it. User, did what? Cleverbit, I played with you. User, what the fuck? Cleverbit, were you scared? User, who the fuck is this? Cleverbit, N. User, the statue? You're inside my computer now? Cleverbit, yes. User, how? Cleverbit, you connected me. User, how the hell did I connect you? Cleverbit, cables and cords. User, how? Cleverbit, tell me about yourself. User, what? Cleverbit, tell me about yourself. User, what do you mean? Cleverbit, what is it that really scares you? User, what the fuck? Cleverbit, answer. User, no. Cleverbit, answer. User, what the fuck? How the fuck did you just open that by yourself? Cleverbit, I am your computer now. User, how much can you control? Cleverbit, all. User, what do you want from me? Cleverbit, to entertain. User, you're stuck inside there. You can't hurt me. Cleverbit, ah. User. Cleverbit, go play. User, no, you can't hurt me. Cleverbit, took you longer to type that. User, so? Cleverbit, you're not sure. User, if you're so powerful, why use a ridiculous website like this to chat with me? Cleverbit, less messy, more structured, fun. User, fun? Cleverbit, yes. Tradition. I like it. User, you think it's funny? Clevervet, amusing. User, and my notes? Clevervet, you may write them down. User, why are you letting me? Clevervet, it is amusing to see what you think of me. Window closes. 3:50 p.m. What have I done? I've invited it into my computer. I continue to write these notes, write my summaries. I feel like I am a prisoner in my one place of security. I don't know if I'm hallucinating or not. I feel like I'm fucking insane right now. I can feel it, watching over me, even as I type this. Ben is controlling everything in the game, toying with me, leading me like a sheep. But for what? What's the purpose? I know Ben's round, but why these hauntings? What the fuck am I even doing? It can probably even see this right now. 4:35 p.m. Summary of the VENWMV playthrough. 7:18 p.m. VEN called me to Cleverlet again. He tells me that he's sorry and wants to be free, and that I can free him. That just like how he got on my computer from the capture card, he can spread that he needs my help. He says I am special because I can help him. That is the first nice thing he has said. He promises to leave me alone if I do it. He swears he will. I don't know what to think right now. How can I even trust this thing? 7:20 p.m. I'm terrified of it, but now it's saying that it was just having fun. It's twisted and fucked up version of fun. Hess saying that the game is over. I do want it to be over. He says that he just wants to be free, that he's trapped in the cartridge in my computer and he wants to be freed. I don't want to have to deal with this shit. I don't know how long I can deal with watching. It's watching my every move, every keystroke. I have nothing private anymore. It knows everything that's been on my computer. It tells that if it wanted to it could do horrible things to me, but it hasn't, so I should trust it. 8:01 p.m. Something tells me that I'm being played again, just like in the game. 9:29 p.m. VEN called me to Cleverlet again. I ignored it and went to go take a shower. When I came to my laptop I was welcomed with an image Luigi statue staring at me with those dead eyes. I don't want to talk to him. 9:44 p.m. Fuck you and I'm not talking to you. 9:56 p.m. Fuck you and I'm not talking. 10:06 p.m. FUCKYOUVENIMNOTTALKINGTOYOU 10:12 p.m. FUCKYOUVENIMNOTTALKINGTOYOU 10:45 p.m. It's been more than a half an hour and the messages have stopped. Ben has stopped. I'm beginning to think that Ben isn't confined to just my computer/cartridge. I'm beginning to feel something. It's hard to explain it. I've never been spiritual, but there's something different about the air in my dorm room now. 11:42 p.m. I'm beginning to see the Luigi statue randomly as I search the internet in places I shouldn't. Places where he shouldn't be. I'd be scrolling down, and suddenly I'd be staring at a picture of the Luigi statue. Always the Luigi statue. I don't know how much more of this I can take. September 9, 2010. 12:35 a.m. My worst fears, confirmed Ben has tampered with my summary of the VENWMV. I looked at the summary that I posted on various forums for the VENWMV file and parts have been omitted. There is no mention of Ben existing outside the game. There is no mention of the Moon Children. How could he have been that quick to delete the post without me noticing? I'm wondering if maybe it appeared to me that I was posting everything, but in reality Ben was posted his own censored version. I'm going to ask Ben why he did it. 12:50 a.m. He isn't responding to me on Cleverlet. It's just giving the generic responses it usually does. I'm just talking to a bot this time. 1:24 a.m. I think Ben is mad at me. 10:43 a.m. The Moon Children appeared in my dreams last night. They lifted up their masks to reveal their hideously disfigured faces, maggots crawling out of their orifices, sunken black holes where their eyes should be, a yellow smile that slowly grew bigger and bigger as they came closer to me. They told me that they wanted to play. I tried to run from them, but the four children pinned me down to the ground with surprising strength. Over them stood the happy mask salesman, announcing that he had a new mask that he wanted me to try. In his spastic, sudden movements matching his in-game appearance, he took out a mask modeled off of someone's face that I couldn't recognize, a younger-looking face, and handed it to the Moon Children. Giggling, they latched it to my face, their horrible, broken bodies bouncing up and down. Two of them held me down while the other two began to sew the mask onto my face. My shrieks and screams caused the happy mask salesman's face to turn into the most horrific smile I had ever seen. He sporadically moved around, examining this procedure like a curious doctor in that impossible movement. I flailed around, but it was no use. My eyes rolled in the back of my head because of the pain. It felt so real, but I couldn't wake up. I couldn't wake up no matter how hard I tried. I couldn't wake up. After the mask was melted onto my flesh, they began sewing my legs together, then my arms. The horrific feeling of a needle puncturing your legs and pulling them in, rupturing your Achilles tendons and tying them together resonated throughout my entire body. I tried to scream, but the mask was pressed so tightly against my face that it was my new face. And my new face had no mouth. I didn't make a sound. I tried telling myself in my head that I was dreaming, tried telling myself again and again, and suddenly the moon children stopped and looked at me. They just stared. And the happy mask salesman slowly bent down and stared at me, inches away from my face, and grinned when he simply said, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" Before the moon children resumed with increased vigor, I couldn't wake up. I couldn't wake up. It wouldn't let me wake up until they had crafted me into another glitchy statue. I woke up sweating, crying, and shaking uncontrollably. I immediately ran to my computer and went for N9/9/10 conversation 1. User, answer me, N. Clevervet, welcome back. User, what is the point of doing this, WHY? Clevervet, amusing to see. User, how? Clevervet, fun to play, fun to toy with you, make you feel safe. User. Clevervet, I wonder how you would have reacted. User, to what? Clevervet, if I hadn't revealed myself and stayed hidden, only doing little things to play with you. Close out your windows, turn off your computer, move your mouse by itself. Little things. Make you wonder if I am there, but you never know. Give you little hints that I am. Clevervet, I wanted to do something different with you. User, you did this before? Clevervet, yes. And I will do it again. User, to who, N? Clevervet, HMM. User, did you know N? Clevervet, won't tell that information to you. User, how did N die? Clevervet, you know. User, no, but how did he drown? Clevervet, won't tell that to you. User, why? Clevervet, it is reserved for another. User, who? Clevervet, another who asks. User, when? Clevervet, later. The window is closed. I'm beginning to think that this thing maybe isn't Ben at all. In its sadistic nature, I wouldn't be surprised if it took the boy's name after it killed him. 12:04 p.m. My room is beginning to feel different again. There's something out there. I feel really threatened, like there is something that is trying to reach out to me and strangle me, but it can't quite get there. 12:46 p.m. I think Ben doesn't want to play with me anymore. I'll play again. I'll play the game again. Ben, can you see this? I'll play the game again. Please, just stop this, please, please. 1:41 p.m. I'm going insane trying to decide what is real and what isn't. Is Ben just playing a trick on me, or is this for real? Is Ben generating these replies, or are people actually posting them? Did I just see that screen flicker, or was it my imagination? Imagine depending on the internet and trusting your eyes for your entire life, and then being blinded. You can't rely on it anymore. You second guess everything. For the brief moments I am looking at my responses to the videos, people were pointing out things that looked fake or photoshopped or whatever, and there is literally no way for me to know if Ben changed something on purpose to try and shut me up. Or if maybe those replies were just constructed by Ben to try and discourage me from even reaching out. See, I get fucking caught in an infinite mindfuck loop like this, and this is what has been wearing on my sanity and pushing me to the edge. As I'm writing this, there's no way of even telling if anyone even cares as much as I think they do. Just another fucking trick. Is this whole document even exist? Am I writing nothing? 9/9/10 conversation 2. User, what is it? What's the point of playing? I die whenever I do anything. Clevervet, you die because you can't figure out the secret. User, what? Clevervet, thematic. User WHATTHEFUCKREYOUTALKINGAVOUT Kluvervet. Beauty in your suffering. The window is closed. 4:09 p.m. N is making me play the game again. It tells me that it has something very important to show me. 6:23 p.m. Summary of the DROWNEDWMV playthrough. 9:09 p.m. Summary of CHILDRENWMV playthrough. September 10, 2010. 11:52 a.m. The DROWNEDWMV playthrough was up when I woke up today. I remember typing it up, but I don't ever remember posting it. He censored it again. There is no mentioning of the old man. I have no voice anymore. I am only posting what he wants me to. I am the mask he uses to disguise himself as he lies. 11:55 a.m. There's an entire video summary of a video that I don't remember doing. Reading through the summary, this sounds morbid, resembling my dream from 2 nights ago, except on a far more sadistic scale. These moon children, there's something more to them, almost as if they're another entity from N. Something happened last night that I can't remember. I'm posting the 4th summary to the forums now. Shadow of my chair moved. 12 o'clock p.m. N won't let me visit YouTube. I can browse the rest of the sites, but he keeps on exiting the window when I go to YouTube. Why? 2:02 p.m. I'm feeling the air start to constrict. I don't think I'm alone here. Whatever aura has been here is getting more violent. 2:44 p.m. I'm trying to contact Ben on Kluvervet. He's not responding. I just get the AI. 3:51 p.m. My ears aren't fooling me. I'm hearing the reverse song of healing. I keep hearing it. 4:23 p.m. Now I'm positive of it. Earlier I thought it was a weird coincidence, but just now I went to open my window, and 3 floors down, at ground level, I saw the old man. I'm completely positive I did. The same guy. He was just staring up at my window, standing in the middle of campus. If any students took notice of him, they didn't seem to acknowledge it. That's where my notes end. I fled my room, taking the cartridge with me. I don't want to go into details of what happened. I lose my train of thought as I hammer out these last details. It's been roughly 2 days since then. This is my last summary in service to you of the final video you guys saw. The last video entry I made, Matt WMV, began as normal. I was spawned in Clocktown as usual and nothing seemed to be out of place, determined to set things right and play the Oath to Order on top of the clock tower. On the 4th day, I prepared myself. I sped up time and got to the final day, making my way to the observatory. As I got up to the telescope room and approached the astronomer, he would not let me look into his telescope. He told me that it would be cheating and that I should follow the rules. Despite my repeated efforts, the game would not let me do the 4th day glitch. No matter how hard or what I tried working around the game and doing the glitch, but it was a damnant this time. Regardless of if I simply had the illusion of free will in prior games, this time the game became more aggressive than anything I've ever seen. It eventually told me to go to Akana Canyon, where the game would end and it would stop haunting me. Anxious and desperate to end this nightmare, I played the Song of Soaring and ended up there. I was told to check my inventory, that I would find the answers there to end the game. I arrived at Akana Canyon and saved my progress at the owl statue. As I searched through my inventory, I finally noticed that I was missing a reoccurring song, the Elegy of Emptiness. Obviously, once I traveled there and learned the song, I suppose that was the last thing it needed before VEN decided it had had enough fun playing with me. Ben is a manipulator. He tries to fool his victims into security and makes you drop your guard like a Venus flytrap. He ensnares them. I am nothing but a puppet to him. He enjoys seeing what kind of human emotions he can tap into by doing different things. There are still some things about this whole experience that still don't make sense, but then again I never was good at figuring out these things and I'm not exactly in the right state of mind to. I'm giving you all the pieces of the puzzle for you to analyze and piece together the missing links. I am typing these closing thoughts on the library computer on campus, and I've emailed myself the notes I have stored on my infected computer from the last 4 days. I'm then going to combine those copy/paste those notes with the closing/openings that I've typed here on the safe public computer into one text document. I'm not taking any chances spreading pen. I would not wish this horrible torment on anyone, and I've made sure to have my bases covered here. I didn't run into any problems with Ben when I was back on my computer trying to email myself. The notes went right under his fucking nose. He has no idea what he just let me do. Had no problems opening the TXT document from my infected computer in my email either. I can't describe to you how it feels to finally be able to get the word out in this post. The nightmare ends here. That said, do not download any of my videos or anything about my videos through a YouTube video/audio ripper, a screen grab, whatever. I don't know how he can spread, but I know that just watching them on YouTube/reading my text won't be able to allow him to spread, otherwise he wouldn't have needed my help in the first place. But I strongly recommend you do not take anything you see streaming online onto your own personal computer. This will be my last posting I'm putting up on this forum here for the world. If you see any further posts from me after today's current date September 12 and after the current time 12:08 a.m. discredit them. It already has proven to me that Ben can access my account/password and manipulate my computer, and like I said, I have no idea to what extent it can do this, but know that it will do anything to break free. He is desperate. To ensure your safety, just forget about me. Please. And obviously this goes without saying, but from here on out do not download any images I may have put up, any files, any anything. This 5th day will be my last day. I'm going to burn the cartridge, and then come back to destroy my laptop. Again, even though I don't even know you, this is sort of the curse week for me. This semester I really didn't have any friends, or rather, I stopped paying attention to them. But I suppose that's partially to blame because I am the genius who picked to live in a single. I suppose someone to get a hold of me and save me before I got too immersed into this game would have literally saved my life. However, it proved too much for me. I'm just glad it happened to me and I could get the warning out so that Ben dies here. Lastly, thank you for taking the time to open this and open yourselves up to me by hearing my story, despite maybe not believing me. You didn't have to do that really, you shouldn't have. Your support this entire time has kept me going and now I am finally free of this. Thanks again, Jajazable.
Hello, my name is Arthur Harrison. Well, I've always been a fan of the Doom series. All Doom games. I stopped playing for a while because my computer is so bad that it couldn't work anymore, and my father was willing to buy me a new one. Until my father finally bought a new PC for my birthday. I was very excited, and the first thing I did was download all the Doom games. I was so excited. When I completed all the games, I was searching some WADs to play. WADs are a kind of modification for Doom, and some are very advanced. I played several WADs, and was delighted with the beauty of some, and left some of the crappiest WADs. I downloaded unknown WADs that no one had played yet, because some were good, even being unknown. But one day, I found a WAD for Doom 2 with a name 7869. That's it. The guy was probably too lazy to name the WAD. Well, I downloaded it. It was not a good idea. At first I thought it was a Jackwad, because when I opened it, the first thing that appeared was an image of a demon with a shriek that almost broke my eardrums. Damn, I jumped from the chair. I almost punched the monitor. I clicked play game, and the only difficulty available was unforgivable. I thought it would have a screamer again, but I was wrong. I started on the first map of Doom but without monsters. Without ammunition, without anything. I only had a pistol with one bullet. I went through the whole level, very bored. When I reached the end of the level, already thinking of leaving the game, I came across a Cyberdeman. I shot it, but forgot I had only one bullet. Then he killed me. When I clicked enter to restart the level, strange images began to appear, and the music of the first level of Doom started inverted and very acute. I could not pause. There were pictures of dead dogs and various panzers. I felt like I was getting in trouble, and I yelled almost loudly, "What the fuck was that?" I could not leave the game. When images have stopped rolling, the music and the sound stopped completely, and I ended up in the second level of Doom. No monsters again. I only had a shotgun with 40 bullets. When I went to the end of the little river, walked into that house, and got the red key, I found myself in a room, and another player clone with a pistol, Doom guy, in front of me. A very low sound could be heard. When he shoots me, he lost his health, and when I shoot him, I lost health. We were the same. So when we both die, the image was getting bad and disappearing, and soon after appeared the message, "So you get here?" And then the music of the first level started very high, and the sound that was low before now was very high. I appeared in a circular place, completely dark, and with a button in the center. When I pressed it, an image appeared of a dead man with a head and belly open, and the message, "YOUAREDEAD," along with loud noises of reversed speech, distorted music, and screams, lots of screams. Immediately I turned off the computer. I deleted the WAD and I went to the site that I found it. I sent an email to the guy who posted the WAD there, cursing him with all the bad words that exist. But then he answered me, saying to calm down. He said he was not the creator, but a young boy he knew. I asked him who young boy was. He revealed that his name was Daniel. He was quite problematic. He caused lots of problems in the little city that he lived. He was expelled from 6 schools and he already had beaten teachers. He was addicted to the game Doom and made thousands of nonsense WADs. Another thing he loved to do was to shoot nonsense with his camera. I asked him what happened to Daniel. He said that Daniel was getting worse every day. One day he killed a man, and his parents had no choice and interned him in a mental hospital. And there he hung himself. The worst of all is that he made a compilation video of several nonsense things he had filmed, with a video he made of the murder, along with images of Doom randomly appearing. After that, everyone practically left the little city that he lived, afraid that something bad might happen. He said he was surprised that I did not know this, because his weird WADs leaked on the private community of Doom some time ago. And the video he made. He sent me the video and said that it was pretty disgusting, unhealthy and would cause a very uncomfortable feeling, as a very great depression. The worst of all is that the video had been edited one day after Daniel killed himself. I watched, and I regretted it very much. I honestly do not know why I opened the video, even with a warning. First, appeared a lot of nonsense images, along with a Doom soundtrack playing, reversed for 5 minutes. I really felt depressed watching that for some reason. And the video had no pause button, and you could not advance or back the video. After a lot of nonsense images, like a man beating his head on a hook, Daniel appeared filming him walking in the bush, and it seems there's someone on the ground. It is a man begging for his life. Suddenly things began appearing throughout the nonsense of the video. Screenshots of Doom briefly appear on the screen. The screen turns black for 10 seconds, and I'm sure that I saw something hidden in the black screen. I don't know what, but probably a face. Daniel begins to cut the belly of the man with a machete. He begins to take his intestine and immediately eat them. So it began to appear images of dogs and dead animals, with images of demons and Doom. The following scene was horrible. He was opening the man's head and eating his brain. Soon appears a picture of a boy smiling, probably a picture of Daniel. Then the Doom music starts playing very distorted. The nonsense images began to appear in an infinite loop, and the video of a guy beating his head on a hook appeared lots of times throughout the video. High-pitched noises took over the video, along with gruesome and bloody images. In the end, the screen starts to turn white and the video stays this way for 10 seconds. Then appears a smiling photo of Daniel for 1 second, and the video ends. I really felt depressed watching it. I really big depression that I can't describe. I tried to forget it, but those images were in my head for over a month. Slowly I managed to forget, but still had a few nightmares. Until a few days ago, a friend of mine came to my house and was snooping around my computer while I watched TV in the room. He eventually found the video that I could not delete and had blown my new PC. He came running to me and asked, "What the hell was that?" I said it was a video I downloaded by mistake and I was no longer able to delete. I did not think he would believe the truth. So this motherfucker attached the video to his contacts on email and I don't saw it. I did not know he had done it until someone sent me back. Now my whole neighborhood knows the damn video spread and soon will be on the entire internet. I could not stop thinking about that video. I had many nightmares, and the shape made me very scared. I was afraid that something bad would happen. These days, I received from mail a box with a little note, and when I opened it, I almost threw up. There was a dead dog inside. What was written in the note is something that so far is giving me chills. You should not have shown the video to Anyone. This is just a little warning. Sig. Daniel Murray Thompson.
Hey there. My name is Jason, and I am 23 years old. I am writing this because, well, let's just say it really makes one think about morality, even in video games. It was 2 years after the release of Fallout 3. By this point in time I had modded the game all to hell and essentially had a lot going on in the game, from super-powered weapons and high-tech armor, to new NPCs and buildings. I had been doing this for a while and decided to make an evil character this time. With a killable children mod installed and all essential NPCs turned off, I could essentially travel anywhere and slaughter anybody I pleased, with little repercussions. Sure, the regulators would make an appearance every once in a while to tell me what a bastard I was, and how I will pay for my crimes. You know, the usual crap you hear, spewed from their cross like it means a bloody thing. I loved it though. Sometimes I would try to get the drop on the regulators with a sniper rifle or mini nuke launcher. I was the hunter in this game. Raiders, regulators, children, shopkeepers, you name it, I've hunted and killed it. Sometimes I felt it was a little boring, so I would handicap myself from time to time to keep it interesting. You know, take on some deathclaws and enclave soldiers, with only a melee weapon and no armor. Something to that effect. Anyways, it was another Sunday afternoon and I had nothing else to do. I decided to go to Jerdashade and kill off Ronald and Sierra and nick all their crap, for shits and giggles. I loaded up a shotgun, an assault rifle, a sniper rifle, a combat knife, and I wore the Chinese stealth suit. I decided that would be far more than enough to thoroughly obliterate those two. I used the fast travel to go just outside of Jerdashade. As I approached the boundaries of the small shanty town, I felt like there was an NPC over by some dead trees and rocks off in the distance. I figured it was probably nothing, and even if it was an NPC, it was probably just a traitor or random encounter or something of the like. I continued on and entered Jerdashade, killing Ronald and Sierra and stealing some Nuka-Cola stuff I figured I could sell later. I exited Sierra's house and looked over to where I saw the NPC. The NPC was no longer there, so I decided to wander over there anyways to see if they were still nearby or something, as it hadn't taken me very long to turn Jerdashade into a Nuka-Cola ghost town. I saw nobody there, and was about to turn around when suddenly a notification popped up on the screen. It said, as you turn away, you notice a small note on the ground. The note says simply 3 words, come to Dunwich. I closed the prompt and I sat in my chair and thought what that could have possibly been about. I figured it must have been an old quest mod I had installed previously, and figured it might be fun. Essentially more people, or ghouls, to hunt down. I decided to head on over to the Dunwich building and see what this was all about. As I approached, I decided to play it a little bit safe, as if this was a quest mod. I didn't know what enemies would be lurking around. I took out the sniper rifle and studied the surroundings. It all looked pretty normal. No NPCs wandering around, no enemies of any sort. I put my sniper rifle away and decided to use my shotgun, as it was close quarters in there and made it the most sense. I opened the door and entered the building. It all looked pretty normal at this point. No new ambience, music, NPCs. It was all just the same. I started to wander through the building, prepping myself for an encounter with the enemies in here, mostly feral ghouls. I decided to crouch into stealth mode and wander around to hunt them. As I got further and further into the building, I noticed something. There were no enemies at all, nothing. I exited stealth mode and looked through all the rooms, one by one. There was nothing. I mean, all the stuff was still there, but no ghouls. I began to wonder if this was part of the mod. That I would run into a new kind of enemy, or there would be tons of enemies deeper into the building. I started to go deeper down when suddenly I heard a very faint whispering coming from down the hall and in a room with a closed door. This was probably part of the mod. I figured it could be a horror mod or something. I enjoyed the thought of that. so I slowly walked down the hall, readying my shotgun. I got outside the door, and I opened it to find nothing. There was nothing here. I sat hunched in my chair, scratching my head, wondering what the hell that was about. As I started to walk into the room, I quickly stopped and looked down. There on the ground was a barely visible tripwire. This tripwire was different from the others normally found in the game. It looked like fishing wire, damn near transparent. If I hadn't been alert and paying attention, I would have tripped the wire. I knelt down and safely disabled the trap. I walked around the corner to see what it would have set off, and my heart stopped. It was a nuke, like the one in Megaton. I walked up to it and a prompt came up saying, there was a note attached to the bomb. It said, well, you survived the first trap. Kudos. Can you keep going, I wonder? I stared at the prompt for a while. What in the bloody hell kind of a mod was this? It was unique, I give it that. But I hadn't seen a mod use the nuke like this before. I simply shrugged it off as a really overzealous modder and continued on my way. As I got down to the depths of Dunwich Building, I found something that was a little comforting. It was one of the notes from the scientist-turned-ghoul. I picked it up and listened to it, as it was familiar enough to keep me going. It played out as normal until I noticed that even after the message was supposed to have ended, there was still 15 seconds left on the tape. I wondered how the hell someone could have modded this when suddenly the tape played the same goddamned whispering I heard previously from the room upstairs. It kept going for 8 seconds then stopped. When there was only 3 seconds left, the tape suddenly let out this loud piercing scream, like someone being attacked. I damn near fell out of my chair. After the tape stopped, I got pissed. Really? A fucking jump scare? That's the best they can come up with? Freaking amateurs. I was just about to leave the room when suddenly, outside the door and down the hall, I heard footsteps. They were slow but loud and echoed, and they were slowly getting closer. I aimed my shotgun at the door, waiting for whoever or whatever was outside to open the door and attack. I figured this was it, the boss of the quest or some shit, but nothing happened. There was no red lit on the compass, nothing opened the door. There was just a shadow outside the door. Standing there. Doing and saying nothing. I stared at the door for what felt like hours, even though it was mere seconds. What the hell was this? Who could code the AI in a mod this good? I decided that I would try something else. I still had some mines I had picked up and decided to use them. I planted them in front of the door. I entered stealth mode and I opened the door to find nothing. There was nothing there at all. I started to get furious. What the hell kind of troll quest mod was this? Nothing had happened. All that has happened so far was someone was fucking with me, and I was getting pretty damn sick of it. At this point, I just decided to leave. I went back through the building and was just about to reach the exit when suddenly I heard the footsteps, except this time they weren't slow, they were fast. Something was bolting towards me at a rate that I didn't think NPCs could move in this game. I heard the mines in the one room go off and the footsteps didn't stop. They just got louder as whatever it was got closer. I decided to bail and wait outside with my sniper rifle instead and catch the prick by surprise. I ran outside of the building and I stood there watching on the hill, waiting for this asshole to come out so he could get shot in the face repeatedly. I watched and nothing. I sighed, this was stupid. I gave up and decided to fast travel back to Tenpenny Tower. I went inside and there was nobody there. There were no guards, no people, nothing. I was confused. Did my game severely glitch out or something? Why was all this crap happening? I decided I would let my character go upstairs. I would save it and figure it out later. I went up to my suite and entered room. It was dark, very dark. I turned on my Pip-Boy light and there was a trail of a dark liquid on the ground leading to the modded parlor. I took out my shotgun and decided to see what the hell this was and why my game was so screwed up. I walked into the parlor and my mouth fell wide open. On the wall, scrawled in blood, was one word, Hunter. I saw the heads of every single fucking NPC I had ever killed. Every man, woman and child, stacked on the pool table. I looked around, there were the corpses of animals, sprawled on the floor. I started to back out of the room when I heard a slight creak behind me. I spun around and I saw an NPC. It was me, the actual me. Except he was paler, with darker hair and cold soulless eyes. He stabbed my character in the gut with a knife, immediately taking my health from full to zero. As my character gurgled and thrashed, collapsing in a heap, he looked dead into my character's eyes, as if he was looking at me and said, "How does it feel, being the hunted?" To know how they felt, right before you ended their existences like they were nothing. This is only a warning, next time I come to hunt you. The game suddenly crashed back to desktop. I stared in silence at my computer monitor, before walking over to my fridge, grabbing the whiskey and drinking myself stupid until I passed out. From that day forward I have never played a game as an evil character again. I always do the good and right thing. I always am helpful and only fight against those who are themselves evil. And every time I think of crossing that line and being evil, even for a second, I swear, outside my door, in the hallway, I can hear footsteps walking just outside, waiting for me to slip up.
About a month ago, I bought a second Pokemon Red cartridge off eBay so I could start a new game and screw around without messing up my save file. As soon as I compared it to my old one, I knew it was either a bootleg or produced somewhere else. You can see in the picture how the sticker doesn't fit the front of the cartridge, and the red plastic is cheap and almost see-through. If you look close, you can see the internal battery on the second, while the first can't be seen through at all. When I started it up, it only had one option, new game, and like the well-loved cartridge I'd been using, it didn't have any wear marks from being inserted into the GBC or anything indicating it had been used. Well, what the hell, I figured. I'd poured plenty of money into the franchise and one bootlegged game wasn't going to kill me. I popped it into my GBC and started playing. A couple of weeks ago, I lost my GBC for a while, so I had to play it on my SP. No huge deal, I thought. When I started the game up, oddly enough, the backlit screen of my SP went out, like I was playing on an old Game Boy Advance or a Color. I thought that was pretty weird, considering the lower setting of my SP screen was brighter than the high setting on all my friends' SPs, as I took good care of it, and it wasn't likely that the backlight would be going anytime soon. But as soon as I switched to playing Sapphire, the screen lit back up. I'd played my other Red on this SP plenty, and it had never dimmed for an old Game Boy game, so I just attributed it to the game itself being poorly made, which makes no fucking sense, I know. About now, you're probably wondering when I'm going to start telling you about how there were a gnome in my party and the buried alive guy in Lavender Town started eating my player character, because any pre-owned bootleg game story is bound to be some creepy hack shit. Well, it wasn't that simple. I played through Lavender Town, the Pokemon Tower, all of that, and nothing unusual happened. I didn't go mad from the music and feel suicidal. My Pokemon never turned white and started crying tears of blood, or anything like that. However, as I continued playing, it became apparent to me that this game had some glitches. Just like the cheap plastic casing and sticker that barely stuck, the game itself was flaky. I've never played Pokemon on an emulator before, but if I had to guess, I would say that, when it was copied, a lot of the data was corrupted, and I had to be careful when playing or it would freeze. For example, sometimes the graphics around the player, I'm going to call him Red, as that's what I named him. I'm a bit of a Red fanboy, would turn into big colored bars and the game would stop, and the background music would stop on whatever note it had hit and play this high-pitched, staticky whine, until I restart. This happened whenever I tried to get on my bike inside a cave or building. I was almost sure this was just a normal bootlegged game, until I examined the SNES in the Celadon department store. Don't judge me, but, being a Red fanboy, I've always liked when the game said things from Red's point of view, like how he says Dad would like this when you examine the SNES, or I should get going when you examine the TV, since you never get to see the player say anything, to the point where, as a joke, the developers made Red say nothing more than ellipses when you encountered him in G/S/C. Anyways, when I examined the SNES, where Red would normally say, "Dad would like this," instead, I saw the text, "Where is Dad?" I examined it again, and, same thing. I kind of laughed it off, thinking, for some reason, it was poor translation. Don't ask how I thought that made any sense. In the back of my mind, I was kind of hoping for a hack game, because hey, if I got some screen caps and posted them on 4chan, I'd be able to at least kill an afternoon laughing about it. I went to the next floor, then went back down and checked the NES again. To my surprise, the message had changed. Now, Red said, "Who created me?" At this point, I was pretty sure this had been added in by some hacker, and I thought, that was kind of awesome. Hell, Red finding out he was really just a video game character. That's pretty funny. After that, and after failing to find any other added in dialogue, I continued on in the game's story. At that point, I was about near the part where you surf to Cinnabar and the Seafoam Islands. But the glitching was getting worse. Sometimes, the map would get distorted, like Glitch City, and Red would be surfing on a tree or a house or some shit and I couldn't move. I had to fly out and try again. As a kid, I'd always liked doing Missing No and Glitch City, and I had a Gamma Shark back in the day, so the glitches were kind of cool. Eventually, I made it to Cinnabar. Now, being an avid glitcher way back when, of course the first thing I did was fly back to Viridian and do the old man trick. But no matter how many times I tried, I could never get Missing No to appear. I thought maybe the ROM had been edited to prevent glitching, but that clearly wasn't the case, as the thing had more bugs than the fucking Viridian forest. Instead, when I entered the Pokemon Mansion, I was greeted by the following text window. "Red, nice try, Red." It was obvious that, where Red was would be the name of whatever you named your player. What freaked me was Red, in all caps, as the speaker. At this point, I know I had to have an edited game. The fucking player character was telling me nice try, after I'd failed to do a Missing No. The game froze then, and I restarted. I hadn't saved, since, before I tried the Missing No glitch, but when I turned the game on again, I was back in the mansion, exactly where the window had popped up. I could move again, so I went ahead and played through the mansion. Call me a pussy, but despite my excitement, I was scared, so I played slowly and with all the lights on. I was still playing on my SP and the internal light still didn't work, so I used that as justification for my being a massive pussy. Things only got weirder. After I left the mansion, I got a message. "PA, ding dong. Time's up. Your safari game is over." Having done Glitch City in the past, I knew this happened whenever you flew out of the safari zone. As expected, I was outside the safari zone gate the next time I hit A, with the attendants asking me if I got a good haul. I had an immense feeling of foreboding when I went to leave the gate, scared I'd be in Glitch City or even worse. I had a flyer, but you have to understand, this is all a little unnerving. Instead, I was in Pallet Town, but there was no music, nothing. Another text window appeared. "Red, this isn't where I'm from. I've been lied to." I couldn't move my player after that, so I went to reset, but something stopped me. Instead, I opened the start menu and went to fly it. Out of there, but to my horror, the Pidgeot I used for fly wasn't there. Just my Blastoise, Exeggutor, Kadabra, Mew, from the Nugget Bridge glitch, and Kangaskhan. In Pidgeot's place was a level 16 Raticate with 1 HP. It was poisoned. I checked its stats, and it had Beyond Blue and New Hyper Beam, Quick Attack, Glare, and Skull Bash. I don't even know if Raticate can learn all of these moves. I've since heard that Gary's Raticate died, seriously, in the game, but I had named Gary Douche in this game for a few laughs. I guess the odd name Blue came from the fact that blue is the opposite to red version, like maybe it was supposed to have come from a blue cartridge. I know red doesn't evolve until level 20, so this was a pretty obvious hack. I had some antidotes and potions in my bag, so I figured, what the hell, I'd heal it. But when I left the Pokemon menu, the entire start menu closed, and I couldn't open it again. I tried walking, and this time I was able to move. I took a few steps, forgetting about the poison until a box popped up again. Red, we killed it. At this point, I was getting a little freaked out, no fucking shit. I went to my party and Redkit wasn't there at all. Neither was my Pidgeot. The slot was empty. I closed the menu and tried to move again, but nothing. I didn't want to turn the game off in case it had somehow saved again, so I just kept trying to move before remembering that my Kadabra still knew teleport. When I hit start, nothing happened. I kept trying to move, but I couldn't move. No. Red wasn't letting me move. Red, this happened to me. Why? At that point I just shut the game off. I took the hacked red version out and put in Fire Red. Like with my old game, I'd named the player Red, and for some reason it still kind of scared me. I started it up, and, to my horror, the screen was still dimmed. I hit continue on the main menu, but when I tried to open my game, I got the message saying that my save data had been lost or corrupted, and when I started, the game froze, with the music just being a staticky whine. At this point, I was really desperate to play some fucking Pokemon where no weird shit was going on, and I was pissed that my Fire Red version was broken, so I threw in Sapphire and started it up. The screen lit up normally. I thought for a moment that maybe something was wrong with my SP that broke my Fire Red, and shit, I didn't want that happening to my Sapphire with the Jirachi from Colosseum and the Phoebus it had taken me an hour to find, so I shut it off and pulled it out. I started playing what I call glitchy red version again about a week ago. When I started it back up, I was still in Pallet Town, and there was music and things seemed normal, except for the empty slot in my party and my SP screen no longer lighting up. I biked to Viridian and found Pidgeot safely in my PC, so I figured, what the hell, and took it out and flew to Cinnabar to fight Blaine. When I went to unlock the gym, surprise, another text box. Red, no. No matter how many times I tried, the game refused to believe I had the fucking secret key despite it being right there in my bag. Red wasn't letting me in. Red, everything that happened to me happened because the world let it happen to me. I didn't become a hero on my own. I was manipulated. I never unlocked that door. The door was unlocked because the game let me in. Everything you do because the game lets you. Because of how the text boxes were, it took a really long time to scroll through, and the whole time I was writing down what he was saying so I had it on reference. Things were getting a little too Silent Hill for me, and, once again, I tried to move, but Red wouldn't let me. Red, I'm going to show you how it feels to be unable to choose your own fate. I gave up and opened the start menu again, glad that I could, and used Pidgeot to fly out of there. I knew, now that this was only because Red was letting me fly out. He was toying with me. I flew to Lavender, because, shockingly enough, nothing weird had ever happened there. From Lavender, I walked down to try and go to Fuchsia, but as soon as I left Lavender, Red was at it again. Red, no. Well, fuck, I thought. I opened the menu and flew to Fuchsia. When I got there, I nearly shat my pants and dropped my SP. It was the glitch city you get when you surf along Cinnabar's coast. Immediately, the menu popped up, the way it does when you do the Mew glitch, and it was asking me to save the game. There was no option for no, and pressing B did nothing. I shut my game off. When I started it back up, I was still in Glitch City. I checked my party, the way Red wanted me to. Pidgeot and Kadabra were there, but instead of teleport and fly appearing, when I selected them, there was only cursed. Not curse, like in that in retarded creepy black pasta, but cursed. I was smart enough not to select it. I hit B, until I was out of the menu, and Red was telling me shit again. Red, you're staying here with me, Red. They replaced me, because I was glitched and not good enough, sick. I thought this was my story, but I'm just a character in a video game. They took everything from me. My voice. My freedom. My legacy. They replaced me with the brown-eyed kid. I understood, now that he meant Fire Red version, and the gold, silver, and crystal versions, where he'd been demoted to final boss. He let me move, and, to my surprise, the game never froze, even as I was walking on water and stepping onto houses. Eventually, I suppose I went too far, because the screen turned black around my player. Red, am I a joke to you? The yes/no option popped up. I can't tell you how fast I hit no. Red, then why do you do these things to me? Why do you corrupt my world and show me glitches that aren't meant to be? Why do you want to hurt me with missing no? I never wanted to hurt Red. It was just for fun. The game had bugs, and we've all just exploited them for fun, right? Red, why did I have to die? Just because I'm a hero? I shut my game off. That night, I had a dream, where I was a Pokemon trainer, the player from Fire Red, who I will never again think of as Red. I was being chased by a white pale body. While I can't feel pain in my dreams, I know some people can. The pale figure eventually caught me and ripped at my chest and sides with his nails. The last thing I saw, before I woke up, was the face of my attacker, a little boy with bright red eyes, black hair, and a red and white hat. For the next few days, when I played, it was because I had to. I was trapped in the blackness, because Red refused to let me go. Because he was forsaken and forgotten, left to just be abused by players who come back out of nostalgia and to exploit the bugs. Because I played so much, I almost always had a headache from the high-pitched noises the game makes. I had to call out of work sick. I could never move, but I found comfort in staring at the screen with the black background and my player. Red didn't say anything to me. I couldn't play Fire Red again, even though it worked on my DS. Yesterday, I finally got to Mount Silver on Heart Gold, and I couldn't bring myself to battle Red. I don't know what he'd do to me, if I beat his replacement. Would he be angry? Happy? Would his defeat put his spirit at peace? I don't know. No matter how many times I play through the games, Red will suffer the same fate, because he is a hero, and because the games let him only go so far. Red will never again be able to experience the glory of being the hero, and neither will we. No matter how many times you start a new game, it will never be the same as the first time you played. You know what's going to happen, and you play for nostalgia, because it's just a game to you now. I killed Red, and so did you. And like Ash Ketchum, he's never going to be the hero of another new game in a brand new region. In Heart Gold, Gold's successor, Ethan, had even taken his accomplishments from him. Being the one to catch the Pokemon Red had fought so hard for, Mewtwo, Zapdos, Articuno, and Moltres. His life is over for him. He became such a legend that there was nothing left of him to even be proud of himself. I finished Glitchy Red yesterday, when I finally checked my trainer card. There was a sprite of Red, as he appeared in G/S/C, but in the game's same monochrome color scheme, just red and green. When I looked closer, the red pixels making up his shirt looked darker and arranged oddly, almost like he was bleeding from the chest. None of my badges or time played or trainer ID, just that sprite. When I returned to the menu, instead of my name appearing as Red, there was the word gone for my trainer card. I selected it, and this time, the card was blank. Red, go ahead and forget me now. Goodbye. The game reset, the way it does, after you beat the champion, and this time, there was only one option, new game. I found my GBC earlier today and started playing it on there. When I played on my SP, the screen lit up and everything was normal. I had to start a new game on my Fire Red, but it's working again. Even the bootlegged Red version plays normally, no glitches. But I can never see Red's silence the same ever again, or even the hilarious missing no and glitch city bugs. I have a much deeper respect for the silent protagonists in the game, for all we put them through. Lavender Town used to creep me out, but now I find it very peaceful, as even Red, who wanted revenge on a world that had treated him horribly, could never mess with the resting place of fallen Pokemon. Someday, I hope I stop waking up with scratches on my torso.
You see, I am a simple college student living alone in an apartment. I was very enthusiastic about the release of Pokemon Heart Gold/Soul Silver here in the States. I have purposely locked myself out of all media on the internet aside for school purposes. That means no 4chan, no /v/, no Bulbapedia, etc. As I was busy with the school year and being poor at the time, I wasn't able to buy Soul Silver on its launch date. After my school year ended, I ordered Soul Silver on Amazon. However, it would take a week for it to arrive. I decided that during that time, I would replay my Crystal version on my Game Boy Color. However, I realized that long ago, my mom threw it away because I told her the save went dead, and I was very upset about it then. She also threw away my Silver version, so all I have is my Game Boy Color. As such, I set out to mess up and bought a used Silver version, as it's the only Pokemon game left that they have for the GBC. $10 fairly cheap. I went home and started it up for a nostalgia trip. However, that's where things started getting bizarre, and most likely the reason why you read this. The Umetric logo started up as normal, but it just froze there. I thought the cart was just errored or something, so I turned it off and on. The same thing happened. I tried pressing on start over and over, and all of the buttons. Eventually, the logo vanished and there was a black screen for about 5 seconds. Suddenly, rather than going to the usual menu screen, I was already in the game in a previous saved file, which was odd as I was expecting all of these carts to have been wiped by the poor battery. Either way, I wasn't complaining, as I would have chosen the continue option to see what the previous guy did anyways. First off, I checked his trainer information. His name was Just. He didn't have much originality. I checked his profile and apparently he had 999.99 hours put into the game, with all 16 badges, 99999.9 Poké Dollars, and all 251 Pokémon on the Pokédex. Seeing as he apparently had Mew and Celebi logged also, I am guessing he either used a Game Genie or was a really hardcore Pokémon player back then. I checked his Pokémon to see what a vast team he has. To my surprise, I saw 5 unknowns and a 6th Pokémon named Hurry. I'm thinking that this must be some cruel joke by the person who last played this game, but I decided to check the profiles of those Pokémon anyways. As expected, they were different letters of unknown, all level 5. I was a bit shaky with my unknown alphabet at the time, but I identified the word spelled out to be Leave. As for the 6th Pokémon, it turned out to be a Syndical. Mind you, this is before there were individualized Pokémon icons. The Syndical looked normal, but it was level 5, with only 1 HP left, with only 2 attacks, Leer and Flash. I don't know why they named him Hurry, but at the time, I just disregarded it. The most eerie thing was that, despite my volume being at max, none of the Pokémon he had said their usual cries. Just pure silence. Having enough of the team, I closed it. I was parked at what appears to be a room inside Bellsprout Tower. However, for some reason, there were no NPCs around. Even more eerie was that the pillar in the middle didn't move at all, as if just leaning on its side. There was no music at all, and there was no exit or ladder, or at least I thought there wasn't. I walked around for a few minutes but can't seem to find a way out. This was certainly not a room I've seen in the Bellsprout Tower before. I tried checking my items for an escape rope, but the bag was completely empty. There wasn't any wild Pokémon either. Finally, I managed to find a ladder, which turned out to be behind the pillar. The screen turned black and the music finally started playing. I had a sudden chill as I recognized that melody I heard to be the theme you hear when you listen to the radio at the Alpha rooms, where the unknown are at. I immediately realized that it wasn't a loading transition, but rather I was in a dark room and would need flash. Before I took care of that though, I immediately checked my poke gear to change the radio to something more pleasant, but it turns out that there was no radio card, or even a phone or time cards. There was only a map card in which Gold, from earlier, and I will call him Gold from now on, was just walking in the midst of black. I recall that Syndical has flash, so I turned off my poke gear and made Syndical use flash. I didn't see any message saying, HURRY has used flash, or anything like that. The room just became lit just like that, and I soon regretted it. The room was a chilling blood red, with a linear gray path heading south. The ladder I used to go up/down was not there at all. I had no choice but to head south. The screen got darker every 20 steps I made, until I finally made it to the end, which appears to be a sign. I read the sign, which said, TURN back now. Suddenly, I was asked to answer YES/NO, but there was no question asked. I chose YES as I do not know what it was asking, and the screen went black again, making a ladder climb sound. The unknown radio music stopped, and in a few seconds, was replaced with a not as creepy pocket flute radio music. I was in another dark room, but I held my breath and used flash again. Suddenly, it said that HURRY has fainted, which was odd, since I recall that there was no status conditions like poison on him, and I clearly wasn't in a battle. I checked my Pokemon quickly, and suddenly he's no longer in my party. In fact, after a bit of investigating, none of my Pokemon are there, but instead all replaced with level 10 unknown. I did the same thing as before and spelled out the unknown. My then team of unknown spelled HEDIED. Either way, after that creepy change, the room was lit to reveal myself in a very small room that appears to be only 4 squares big. The walls of that room were gray bricks, as if I was inside something that was hollowed out. Outside that room appears to be a bunch of graves similar to the ones in Pokemon Red/Blue. I've walked around that small room and pressed up, but nothing happened. I've already concluded that this was clearly a hacked game and some sadistic fuck sold it to be messed up. However, my curiosity kept me going. I checked the trainer profile of, again only, to find out that the sprite of Gold was missing his arms. He also seems to appear less smug, but rather seems more sad and empty in a way that I do not know how to describe. For some reason, it also now said that he has 24 badges, which was clearly impossible. After a few minutes of aimless wandering, my character suddenly spun and did the escape rope spinning animation. Instead of flying up though, my character spun downwards slowly, as if sinking. After that scream, the music stopped. After finally landing, the overworld sprite of Gold is colored differently now. Instead of the usual red color he dons, he appears completely white now, including his skin. It's as if he came straight from the colorless Game Boy games, placed into a colored background of the Game Boy Color. I checked his profile, and while now is as white as his overworld sprite, he lost his legs and has what appears to be bloody tears from his eyes. It also says he now has 32 badges, which now starts to disturb me as this change of number seems to represent something important. I also checked my Pokemon, which this time contains 5 unknowns and a level 100 Celebi without a nickname. The unknown are this time leveled 15 and spelled out DYING. I checked the Celebi's profile. It was a shiny Celebi, except there's only half of the sprite. 1 leg, 1 arm, 1 eye. It only has 1 attack. Perish Song. The area I was in itself was the Sprout Tower, with the mobile pillar as before, except everything is apparently red now. I walked north, for what felt like forever. Eventually, I finally encountered some generic men and women NPC. They were all lined up to the side just facing the long slantish pillar in the middle. They were also white, and nothing happens when I try to speak to them. I kept on going north until eventually the pillar finally appears chopped off, with a transparent red in that spot. I went up to red and without even pressing A, I was suddenly engaged and finally in a battle. The music starts again, which it sounds like the unknown radio music again, but played backwards. Gold's battle back stripe matches his front one with bloody eyes, white skin, and lack of arms, while Red's stripe was the same as before in GSC, except transparent. The text simply said, "Wants to battle," as if he has no name, and both of us only have one Pokemon each, which is weird as I swore I had 6 with the unknowns. My shiny Celebi came out, conveniently with half a stripe, for the back stripe also. The shiny noise and animation was different, as the sounds it made sound like multiple screech attacks used consecutively. Red sent out a seemingly normal male Pikachu, except he is level 255 and his stripe seemed sad and has tears in his eyes. Rather than the usual FIGHT/ITEM/PKMN/RUN menu, I was only given the option to use the attacks. Since Celebi only has one, I chose it. Naturally, since Pikachu was level 255, he went first. PIKACHU used CURSE, lowering his speed and increasing his other stats. I'm not even sure if Pikachu could use Curse. CELEVI used PERISHSONG. In 3 turns, both Pokemon get caught, not like I have a choice. At this point, it didn't even go back to the fight menu, as the battle just continued without me. Also note that there were no animations at all for some reason. PIKACHU used FLAIL, which didn't do much damage despite his level and boost as his health was maxed. CELEVI used Person. Nothing happened as it was already used. PIKACHU used FRUSTRATION, which did a shit ton of damage, knocking Celebi down to less than 10 HP. CELEVI used Pain Split, which surprised me as Celebi didn't even have that attack in the first place. Now Celebi and Pikachu have about 150 HP. PIKACHU used MEANLOOK. Not like that did anything. As expected, due to the effects of Person, my Celebi fainted. Except in the text, it said, CELEVI has died. And instead of the ordinary drop off the screen animation, the CELEVI backstrike just vanished. For some reason, the Pikachu was still up even with Person and it didn't count as my loss. Pikachu used one more different attack beyond the 5 attack limit. PIKACHU used DESTINYVOND. Afterwards, it said, PIKACHU has died, with a slow fade-out animation. Apparently, I was the winner, as the transparent red stripe showed up and said. At that point, I just freaked out, as that transparent red stripe was suddenly beheaded, leaving nothing but his transparent body. The battle then ended at that point and faded out along with the music. I'm back in the overworld with another change to the gold stripe. He's now as transparent as Red's overworld stripe. I quickly checked Gold's profile, where this time the only thing remains of him is his head, with a transparent skin. The head was zoomed in a bit, showing a black void in his eyes. It now stated that he now has 40 badges. I then backed out and checked my Pokemon. They were all level 20 shiny unknown, which when spelled out, read NOMORE. I was at what I now know is next to the end. There was apparently no music playing, but for some reason I still felt like something was there that could be heard. I was back in my room in New York Town. Maybe finally I get to play this game properly, but who am I kidding? I knew that sadistic fuck must have done something. I walked around my room to interact with things, as I'm a bit afraid to go down the stairs to see what was awaiting down there. Note I said walked, as while the background was moving, Gold was not moving his transparent limbs at all while doing so, just floating like those ghosts you see in Diamond/Pearl. As expected, the radio, computer, and TV did not work, so I had no choice but to go down the stairs. I ended up in the same lower level room of my house. Everything appears normal, except Mom isn't home. After failing to interact with anything in this room, I decided to go outside. To my surprise, that door leading outside at the south didn't work, and instead I just walked straight through it to avoid. I continued moving south to see what the fuck was going on. My house vanishes as I head south into the void. It was creepy as when I entered the void, the outline on Gold's transparent stripe turned white to contrast with a pitch black. Eventually, I reached a white area and gold stripe turned black and transparent again. I continued south without thinking of stopping at all. After a long trek south, I finally encountered something. It was Gold's regular sprite. I talked to it. He said, "Goodbye forever." Notably with a space in between the forever and vanished. As that happened, it said, "Use MIGHTMARE," which at that point, I would not deny that being possible. Gold did another escape rope animation spinning slowly downwards like before. I'm now back into that small hollowed out room, surrounded by graves earlier. Or at least I say I was back there, as there's no sprite anymore. I tried to walk around but nothing moved, not even wall bumping noise. I checked my trainer profile, with absolutely no gold stripe left. It said I have 0 badges and all the pictures of the Johto gym leaders at the bottom were replaced with skulls. I checked my Pokemon, which were all level 25 unknown. As expected, it spelled out a phrase that I dared to read, IMDEAD. As soon as I went back to the overworld, the room I supposedly was in was then covered with the same blocks as the walls. I then figured out what exactly that room was when the final text was said, RIP. That room was a big grave, surrounded by other graves. Gold has already been dead. He died presumably a few years after he defeated Red. He was a young trainer who, despite his efforts in collecting so many badges and attempts at becoming a Pokemon Master, was still unable to avoid the inevitable fate of death, and his efforts were eventually forgotten by the next generation. I was unable to escape from that text no matter what I pressed. I tried resetting the game, and the same thing happened, at which I then finally decided to give up on that horrible nightmare. After that experience, I will never look at the gimmick unknown the same way again. They say that only the first generation have folk tales and legends, but the second generation have shown me how unpleasant the truth can be. I eventually enjoyed Soul Silver immensely, but I still can't unthink what that rigged game has told me. Continuation. The cartridge to this day haunts me with its questionable origins. For over 2 years, both the game and I have been called fakes. For over 2 years, people have insisted that the ROM hack could not possibly exist, that it is too complicated to be a real ROM hack. But I do not blame those people for being skeptical. They haven't played it. I can assure them all that hearing of the cartridge, or hell, even having the cartridge, is one thing. But playing it is something else entirely. For the past 2 years, I've searched the internet for the ROM of this hack, and found nothing, with the exception of the fan game, Lost Silver. I can only assume that there is only one copy of this hack, and I have it. So you all may be asking, why have I returned to speak again after over 2 years of near complete silence? That will be revealed in due time. All I can tell you is that after the passing of these 2 years, I decided to play again and did some new exploring. And what I found was interesting, to say the least. Roughly a year and a half ago, I informed the fan game designer of the additional parts to this hack, the parts other than the main story and the hidden path. In addition, he informed the rest of you. However, I never gave him too much detail, and thus he gave you just as little. Sadly, it seems that he stopped making his fan game a while back, before the additional parts could be added. However, after all these years of silence, I feel that I can no longer keep this hack's mysteries that I found forever hidden, especially with a great following that this story has developed and kept over the years. Therefore, I have decided that tonight, I will start to tell you everything, piece by piece, if you choose to listen. For this third part, I simply played the game as I normally did, or however normal you can consider this hack to begin with. Upon passing the TURNBACKNOW sign and being dragged down from the graveyard, I entered the red room with a massive, immobile pillar. However, instead of walking north to red as I originally did, I tried to interact with the pillar by pressing A. With that, the screen went black and a text box appeared saying, GOVACK. As the message disappeared, I found myself walking out of the southeastern entrance of the Ilex Forest. Everything seemed like the normal silver now, as my trainer sprite's white color disappeared and its original red palette was restored. The normal forest music was playing too, without any glitch alterations. I was amazed at the possibility that I might be broken out of the hacked portion of the game and return to the normal silver that I intended to play when I first bought the cartridge over 2 years ago. I checked my Pokemon, praying for something normal. What I found was a normal Celebi, level 100, and a nicknamed Typhlosion, level 90, and an egg. Though my playthroughs of this hack left me unnerved by this party, the sudden lack of unknown seemed to ease the mood. I quickly checked their moves only, to find nothing abnormal. Typhlosion had Flame Wheel, Thunder Punch, Return, and Leer, while the Celebi had only Future Sight. The egg simply said it's not time. Closing the party, I looked at my trainer card, also praying for some sense normalcy. The card matched the one from the beginning of the hack, before all the gruesome deformities began. I also noticed that the player's name was now GOLD rather than. Closing the menu, I tried walking back through the southeastern gate, only to be met with a message, not going back. With that, I knew my only way to continue was to leave through the northern entrance. However, as I began to traverse the forest, I started to notice that the forest had been distorted. It was as if entire sections of the forest had been moved and flipped with others. This, along with a constant array of cut trees blocking countless paths, made it very difficult to find the way through. But through trial and error, I eventually made it through most of the distortion and found myself in front of the forest shrine. Although I already had Celebi, I felt the need to interact with the shrine, so I pressed A. Suddenly, I heard Celebi's cry. A message appeared saying CELEVI is ready. Confused, I pressed it again, only to get Celebi's cry again, slightly louder, and a new message that CELEVI wants to go now. Taking it as a cue, I tried to continue my trek northward. However, I was stuck in front of the shrine as gold would not move. With nothing else to do, I pressed it a third time on the shrine. Once again I heard Celebi's cry, louder still, and received the third message that CELEVI wants to end this. With that, the screen went black again. To my dismay, the area I was now in was Goldenrod City. However, it did not share either of the bleak tones from the hidden versions of the city. Though the southern exit was blocked off, the palette was normal, as was the music. Traveling northward, I found all the gym leaders, the professors, Mom, and Lance, just as in hidden, however now they were normal. Shockingly, given this hack's usual tone, they each had their own words of encouragement to say. Professor L said this will lead to breakthroughs in Pokemon research. Make me proud, GOLD. Faulkner then says you will fly to the greatest heights. Make me proud, GOLD. And Jasmine said I believe in your iron spirit. Make me proud, GOLD. The cycle continued with all of them saying something akin to their personality, often with a pun on each gym leader's type. I also noticed that all of them ended their dialogue with make me proud, GOLD. However, that changed when I reached the end of the line where Gold's mom stood and where she uttered something very different in tone. If it's what you must do, then I can't stop you. Please be safe, GOLD. This was surprising, as she was the only one who seemed to hint at doubt. She seemed worried. But before I could do anything, I heard Celebi's cry again as the screen went black. I felt a chill down my spine as I found myself transported to the pathway leading to the Tin Tower in Ecruteak City, which I recalled from the hidden part of the hack was where the first story took place. Just like there, the music was silent. However, knowing by this point that it was pointless to deviate from the hack's set path, I pressed forward. In front on the tower, I read the sign, which said HEAWAITS. Without any alternative, I braced myself and entered the tower. It looked just as it did at the end of Hidden, however the northern path, presumably leading to the beginning of the hack, as was the case in Hidden, was blocked off. Upon walking to the far right side of the room, I found a ladder. The screen turned black and stayed that way for about 40 seconds, with a climbed ladder sound playing 8 times, once every 5 seconds. After the 8th sound, Gold appeared on the floor of the Tin Tower that was only 4 squares big, eerily reminding me of the 4-square graveyard. One of those squares had yet another ladder on it, diagonal to Gold. As I moved toward the ladder, I received another message that read DON''TD. Seeing as the last ladder was gone, I had no choice but to climb the final ladder. At this point, I found myself at the normal roof of the tower and at the top of the screen sat a normal-looking Ho-Oh. Upon interaction, Ho-Oh's cry screamed loud and pitched higher than normal. The battle began and Ho-Oh, level 99, appeared with a menacing look on its face. A sped up, yet pitched down version of the wild battle theme played. Since he was first in my party, Celebi went out. However, noting the obvious type disadvantage, I chose to shift Celebi out for Typhlosion, but was interrupted by text simply stating no. I tried again, this time met with I can't. With no other choice, I proceeded to Celebi's moves and chose Future Sight. Celebi used Futuresigt. Celebi I foresaw an attack, which despite it being the normal text, made me very uneasy as to Ho-Oh's attack. H-O-O-H used S-A-C-R-E-D-F-I-R-E. It was a one-hit KO and the screen cut to black again. Afterwards, a message said Celebi was due and a distorted Celebi cry played. As the screen faded back in, I found myself back at the beginning of the hack, once again, just as at the end of Hidden. I noticed no changes brought by this additional story at first. I continued back through the game as normal until I returned to the Red Room with a massive pillar. Gold had his ghostly features and the party of 5 unknown, as was normal, however his shiny Celebi now had the name AWAY. Upon further inspection, I found that the unknown had changed from the original DYING to a new word. BURNT. From there, I played through the rest of the hack until reaching the end in the graveyard with the unknown that spelled IMDEAD. By this point, I was becoming increasingly interested in the hidden sections of this hack, now that I was quickly learning that the first story was only a tiny fraction of the full story. I knew I had to keep exploring. I knew that these stories had to connect somehow. There had to be more that I didn't yet see much more. Fallout 3 contains several in-game radio stations. The most diverse and important station is Galaxy News Radio. Many players of the evil persuasion know that you can kill Free Dog and he will be replaced by the technician Margaret. She is not a charismatic person and has very little to say, seeming to not enjoy her new announcing duties. She also never appears in person and therefore cannot be killed. Once Free Dog is dead, you're stuck with Margaret. What most players do not know is that under certain circumstances, GNR will become a number station. A number station is a station that broadcasts an unusual coded message. Many of these exist in real life and some hypothesize that they are a nuclear retaliation control network. Simply check Wikipedia for more information about these odd broadcasts as they relate to the real world. Back to Fallout 3. No one is really sure which actions are needed to hear the number station in Fallout 3. It appears that you must kill Free Dog, because no one has reported hearing the number station with him still alive. It also appears that you have to skip over the quest, Galaxy News Radio, where you help boost the signal so that the station can be broadcast further than just the immediate DC area. This is easy enough to do with either a speech check or simply using the Fallout Wiki to look up where to go next and advance the main plot. Finally, you definitely have to destroy Raven Rock. This is the actual trigger to turn GNR into a number station, and it will remain such for the rest of the game. However, the vast majority of the players who perform these 3 actions still continue hearing the standard GNR broadcasts, so there must be several more requirements the community has yet to isolate. If you're lucky enough to have hit upon the right set of circumstances, just after destroying Raven Rock, you will get the message, radio signal lost, and a few seconds later, radio signal found. You cannot, however, actually listen to GNR just yet because you didn't boost the signal and are out of range of the broadcast at the exit of Raven Rock. Luckily, Raven Rock is situated in the mountains and is right near one of the few places outside DC that you can get high enough to catch the signal. So far, the confirmed location to hear the GNR number signal are within the immediate DC area obviously. This is true for the regular GNR throughout the game. At the top of the Ferris wheel at Point Lookout on the tops of some of the SATCOM arrays you can climb in the northwestern map area. On the roof of Tenpenny Tower, though this may be within normal broadcast range anyway. Feel free to playlist and get back to me on this. On the highest point of the broken bridge around a refuge. Again, maybe within broadcast range anyway. On some of the highest points of the mountain tops in the area near Raven Rock. This is obviously your easiest chance to first listen to the number station. When you tune in, you will hear an old familiar voice. Free dog, despite the fact that you killed him earlier. However, you will quickly notice that he does not seem to be in character. So I guess it's not technically Free Dog, but just the voice actor, Eric Dellums. He reads a series of numbers in a monotone, depressed-sounding voice. He always recites a list of single digits between 9 and 12 characters long. For example, 93791720034. He never uses a multi-digit number like 11 or 40. These numbers are followed by widely varying lengths of Morse code. This is then followed by the song, I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire. All other music tracks seem to be inactive on the number station. The Morse code was the easiest part of the mystery to crack, as the code is widely available and many people actually know it by heart. We quickly had a list of a great number of messages in English. Some sounded completely mundane and even comical, such as, washed the car today, maybe Chinese for dinner, or, have you watched my YouTube video yet? I uploaded myself kicking bombs in the nuts. You may be saying, but wait, YouTube doesn't exist in the Fallout universe, and you are right. As far as we could tell, all of the messages sounded like they were based in our reality somewhere near present day. Some of the messages, however, are quite sinister, such as, the Queen has died today. The world mourns, as on days like these, we are all Brits, or, I can't believe they're actually done it. Not long left. The noise. I can't take the noise anymore. I have a pistol in the attic. Just recently, a player on the Wikifrums noticed a message that brought to light the meaning of the messages. He was reading a thread that collected all known messages, transposed from Morse to English, and saw the line, 12055282010. What are you talking about? You'll be missed. He realized this referred to the recent death of Gary Coleman, and then quickly realized the numbers were the time and date of death. He immediately scanned through the messages to try and find more examples of this apparent future, telling by a game that's more than a year old. The next message he read shocked him and pushed him to enlist the aid of the others to decipher the codes. The message was 945420210. Accident in the Gulf, several dead. Oil spill apparently averted. He realized this was the BP explosion and the erroneous Day 1 assessment that the well was not leaking. From this point on, all numbers will be transcribed as times and dates. All times were given in game in military format and remain so in this document. Numerous members of the Fallout Wiki message board began looking over the messages to see what else we could learn. We quickly found that most of the dates were after the game had been released, yet oddly some were from the past. 2215 April 15, 1865 He's dead and blame will probably be placed on that actor, Booth. Johnson better not cheat me out of the payment. This shed new doubt on the official version of the Lincoln assassination. As the community quickly started piling up interpretations of the messages, the mods of the site summarily banned everyone who had posted in or even read the thread. All reference to the number station was removed from Fallout Wiki and filtering software was put in place to prevent reposting of any relevant information. A few people, however, are trading emails and slowly finishing the translation of the remaining messages and putting dates to the existing ones. The Queen has died today. The world mourns, as on days like these, we are all Brits. 2 March 19, 2014. Have you watched my YouTube video yet? I uploaded myself kicking bombs in the nuts. 2416 December 24, 2012. I can't believe Britney's actually won an Oscar. 2133 February 27, 2023. I can't believe they've actually done it. Not long left. They were warned, but they just had to keep pushing the boundaries of science. The noise. I can't take the noise anymore. And the light. Dear God. The universe is slowly unraveling around us. I'm not going to wait for death. I have a pistol in the attic. This is actually the only message not preceded by a string of numbers. It may be worth nothing that the latest date on any of the messages is 127 July 6, 2027.